Hey everybody, welcome to day 54 of my mental health journey. For those of you who aren't aware, basically I use this to talk about my day-to-day ups and downs with mental health, mainly anxiety, just with the hope of connecting with other people, as well as using this as a platform for people for whom I can't speak to share their stories, and also happen to connect with more people in the process. So today I just want to talk about something that initially I was going to address probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, kind of right after my last video, and that's just in regards to I started therapy, and I wanted to do just kind of like I guess, analysis, if you will, after my first session, and then I realized that we were really just kind of breaking ground at that point, and I needed a few more sessions to really get some flow with my therapist as far as understanding how they operate, kind of understanding the process too, the questions that they had for me as far as setting a baseline for goals that I want to achieve. Mine is specifically, if you can call it specific, just reducing my anxiety in general, but also being more aware of when my anxiety manifests itself, whether it's in a social scenario or if it's work related or just self-esteem issues. It all kind of ties back, at least for me, to my anxiety. And they just wanted to get a general sense of kind of where I was at mentally, the work I've done previously. I decided that I wanted to go into therapy not at rock bottom. I wanted to do some work on myself prior to it, just so I would have some more clarity and I'd be able to kind of articulate some of the stuff that I was feeling, had been feeling. And that happened to work for me. I think we've made a lot of progress in a short period of time. And that's not by any means the blueprint. Some people, they take longer to have progress, and then other people have more progress than I've had. So it's all relative. But I just wanted to come in with kind of a goal in mind and self-awareness, so it wouldn't be like the therapist would have to just be pulling straws out of a hat type deal. I really wanted to kind of come with a game plan, if you will. And I had my fourth session last night, and I feel like it's now time for me to talk just about the therapy that I've had up until this point, because I felt like the last session was it went deeper than the previous ones. I felt like I had talked about a lot of relevant stuff to me that was personal in the first three, but it really felt like in the fourth got to the crux of a lot of issues, and it was just really, it felt like a weight was kind of being lifted off my chest. And I'm not going to go into what we talked about, just because obviously it involves other people, and we're just talking about my specific healing process, so I don't want to drag anyone else into that. But just from an objective or subjective, I guess, point of view, kind of looking at the 4 sessions, I think it's been incredibly helpful. And long story short, I wish that I had started doing therapy a lot sooner. I waited till I was 28 to do therapy. And, obviously I'm not getting any younger, but I still feel young. But then when I look back, I realize that there's been a lot of stuff that, bumps in the road and everything, and things that I never really came to terms with or didn't think about as far as it being something that influenced subsequent decisions, like a situation like where maybe I got bullied or where somebody did something unkind or whatever. Like, I didn't really think of it as having the power to influence my subsequent decisions, but in reality it did. And it was only through kind of unearthing these past traumas and things that I was able to see more clearly, like, oh, that really did affect me, whether or not I want to admit it. 'Cause everyone wants to be strong. Everybody wants to feel invincible, or at least portray that outwardly to society at large. And I think just allowing myself to be vulnerable and talking to somebody about these feelings, it makes it a lot more understandable to me why I've done some of the things I've done or haven't done some of the things I haven't done. And everybody, as I said, has a different process as far as therapy goes, but I would highly recommend it. I think it's been a healing process in the first 4. I'm going to continue to do it on a weekly basis just because it kind of sets I do it on Monday night. So I think that it kind of helps me unwind at the end of the night and sets me up on a good path for the rest of the week. I feel like I've gotten a weight off my shoulders and chest, and I can allow myself more time to focus on what matters as opposed to the past or things that I can't control. Or on the other hand, it's also allowed me to look at the same situation that may have in the past given me feelings of anxiety, depression, or hopelessness, and look at it from a new lens, like, wow, that was a learning process that helped build me to be the person I am today, and will help me in the future when I run into certain situations. So I think one of the main things is it's taught me not to treat everything as a loss. It's always a learning experience, even if it hurts in the process of learning, and you might not necessarily see it as a learning process while it's going on, but in reality, it's actually kind of building up your portfolio, so to speak, of experiences and teaching you how to properly react to something versus not. And, we only see everything like right as it happens. Doing therapy kind of gives you a bird's eye view of things where you can see multiple events as you talk through them, and you realize like how they made you feel and how they may have made you act after that initial feeling. And speaking for myself personally, I tend to get like, I don't know, I brood on stuff, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So if someone says something mean or like does something kind of that irritates me, usually I address it, but sometimes like I won't, and I'll just kind of, for whatever reason, maybe they're having a bad day or whatever, and I don't want to kind of add extra negativity the way I see it. In reality, you're sticking up for yourself, but that's a whole different story. But I think it just really, for me, like when I don't communicate and when I'm not being communicated with, I brood on stuff. I think of the worst possible outcome, that everyone has like the worst intentions. And by doing therapy, I've been able to talk out a lot of that stuff. And I realize that it's not fair for me to just assume things. It's not fair, one, to the other person, but more importantly, it's not fair to myself, because when I assume things, I'm always assuming the worst when it very might well be a much better scenario. So I think just developing a different mindset when it comes to communication and just not always jumping to the worst possible scenario, that's something that I hope to continue to hammer on in therapy and bring up instances where I felt a certain way, but then looking back, maybe it wasn't the way that I thought it was, and then you get a professional opinion too. And I know that a relationship with a therapist is kind of like shopping, in the sense that you try to find someone who can vibe with you, can be understanding, and kind of reciprocate your desire to be better, which also means that you have to come in with the desire to be better. You can't just go into therapy with the mindset like everything's fine, because nobody's going to get anything good out of that. But I just think, for the sake of not rambling on, which I probably am already, that if you're thinking about trying therapy, I would take that step. I was apprehensive at first. I thought that I could fix myself by being super self-aware and everything. But at the end of the day, sometimes you're aware of the bad things you're doing and they don't change. Like you might think that they're innate. For me, it's just being anxious. But I know that there's things that maybe under the surface that I wasn't even privy to that could be unearthed in a therapy session, which there's already been some of that that I frankly wouldn't have been able to do on my own. And that doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean somebody else is weak. It just means that I reached the point where I felt like I got myself to the position of being self-aware, being able to come to therapy with a game plan, and then the next step is to put it into the hands of the professional and also take their advice and, work to have a positive outcome. And it's a process. It's not like a one-stop shop, one fix, and it's good forever type thing. It's something that you have to work on, similar to your body health. The way that you exercise, your mental health is just different, although sometimes they can correlate. But anyway, guys, I don't want to ramble. I really appreciate you continuing to support my channel. I haven't been very consistent with it, but I just, at this point, this is therapeutic for me. It's not my job or anything, and I just want to make good content without it seeming manic and stuff that you guys can actually relate to. So love you guys. I'll be posting this later today. I'll be continuing to make videos and other content. So appreciate all the support. Love you, and I hope you have a great start to your week.